Hey, here we go. All right. Shalom, everyone. It's me, Brother Doug. My sister Marissa is here with me today. We're going to be continuing our Genesis Torah study. And we're going to be going to Genesis 44, I believe. It's where we left off last time. So, all right, I'll start us off with the reading here. I'll be reading from the Targum of Onkelos on my word software here. It says here, and Yosef commanded the steward of his house, saying, fill the men's bags with grain as much as they can carry, and put each man's money in the mouth of his baggage. And put my cup, the silver cup, in the mouth of the youngest one's baggage, and his purchase money. And he did according to Yosef's word, which he spake. The morning lightened, and the men were sent away in their donkeys. They had not gone far from the city when Yosef said to him who was set over his house, arise, follow after the men, and overtake them, and say to them, why have you rendered evil for evil? Is it not this from which my master drinks? And behold, by which inquires he inquires, you have done this thing that is evil. I kind of like that a little bit better than divination, because some people get confused with the divination thing. So inquires, that sounds a little bit more righteous there. Kind of like that. And he overtook them and spake with them these words. And they said, why does my master speak these words? Be it far from your servants to do according to this thing. Behold, the money which we found in the mouth of our baggages, we brought you again from the land of Canaan. How then should we steal from the house of my master vessels of silver or vessels of gold, with whomsoever of your servants it is found? And we also will be servants to my master. And he said, according to your words, so let it be. Whomsoever, which, by the way, just for people that don't know, in the Septuagint, it shows that the actual word that got later on corrupted as amen, actually, that's what that means. So let it be. So I just want to put a little anecdote on that. The majority of the time in the Septuagint, it won't have amen or amen. It will actually say so be it or so let it be. Just something I thought I would just FYI. With whomsoever it is found, he shall be my servant, but you will be acquitted. So this is talking about, he told his servant to overtake his brothers and see whoever has the cup would be guilty. So basically, he's kind of like setting up his brothers in a way. He's kind of... So, and then it says in verse 11, they made haste and brought down every man his baggage to the ground, and every man opened his baggage, and he searched, beginning the greatest and finished with the least. And the chalice was found in the baggage of Benjamin. And they rent their clothes and laded every man his donkey, and returned to the city. And Yehuda entered, and his brothers, into Joseph's house, for he was still there. And they fell before him on the ground, and Yosef said to him, what work is that which you have done? Don't you know that a man like me, divining, can divine? And I think we might have read this chapter last time, but that's all right. It's okay to review it. All right, so again, I think we did read this chapter on the last video. Just, if you haven't seen the last video to get the definition of what divine means in context, divining, it's not always an evil thing. According to the 1611 King James Dictionary, divination can also mean just getting knowledge of future events from a higher source, meaning, Daniel got knowledge of a prophecy from Yahuwah. Yahuwah told him the interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's dream. So in a way, according to this Old English word, that would be considered divining. So I just want to kind of put our brothers and sisters at ease. This is not a pagan practice of itself. it becomes pagan or it becomes evil and occult when you go to mediums and sorcerers to find out a future event. So I just want to make a clear distinction of that. Verse 16 says, and Yehuda said to him, what shall we say to my master? What shall we speak? How shall we be declared righteous before the master? There is sin found in your servants. Behold, we are the servants of my master. We also, and he is in whose hand the chalice has been found. But he said, far be it from me to do so. The man in whose hand the chalice has been found shall be my servant. But go you up in peace to your father. And Yehuda came near to him and said, we beseech my master, let the servant speak a word before my master, and let not your anger be great with your servant, for as Pharaoh, so are you. My master asked his servant, saying, have you a father or brother? And we told my master, we have an aged father and youngest son. I don't know why it does that. It's so weird. Okay, all right. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, have you a father or brother? And we told my master, we have an aged father, and youngest son is the son of his old age. His brother is dead, and he only remains of his mother, and his father loves him. And you said to your servants, bring him down to me, let me set my eyes upon him. And we told my master, his father cannot part with the youth, for if our father should part with him, he would die. And you said to your servants, if your youngest brother come not down with you, you shall not see my face again. And it was when we had gone up to our father, we told him these words of my master. And our father said to us, return and buy us a little grain. And we said, we cannot go down. If our youngest brother go down with us, we will go down. For we shall not be able to see the man's face unless our youngest brother go down with us. And your servant, our father, said to us, you know that my wife bare me 2 sons. One went forth from me, and I have said, dying he is dead. And I have not beheld him since. And if you take this one also from me, and death happen to him, you will bring down my age with evil unto Sheol. Okay, so this is talking about bringing him down into Sheol, to the grave. And now when I come to your servant my father, and the youth be not with us, and his being love him as his own being, when he sees that the youth is not with us, he will die, and your servant will have brought down the age of your servant our father with mourning unto Sheol. For your servant was collateral for the youth with our father, saying, if I bring him not to you, let my father hold me guilty all the days. And now let your servant remain instead of the youth as the servant of my master, and let the youth go up with his brothers. For how can I go up to my father, the youth be not with me, lest I should see the evil that will come upon my father. So basically, let's see, who's actually pleading with Jacob here? You have one of the brothers pleading with Jacob. Let's see here. I just want to see my master. Yehuda. So Yehuda is trying to plead with Jacob saying, no, he's trying to plead with Joseph saying, please do not take Benjamin. Do not keep Benjamin with you, because our father will go down to the grave. He will die if Benjamin is lost. If Benjamin does not come back with us. So Yehuda is trying to, make a agreement with his brother Joseph. So that's what's happening here. And also they got, he kind of set them up too, I guess, to keep Benjamin with him. I guess that was the whole plan that Joseph had, was to put that silver chalice in one of their bags so that one of his men would chase them and overtake them. So that's pretty much what I got from this chapter. pretty much self-explanatory so far with this narrative. It's pretty much Yosef, I guess, is trying to test them by what he's doing with his brothers, and also maybe, he wanted Benjamin to be with him, in Egypt and wait for them to come back. So,
So what about if he was trying to do to them what they did to him by taking Benjamin, how they took him away from their father?
Very possible, yeah. He could have been. That's a good point, Sister Marissa. He could have been. It's possible he could have been, giving them a taste of their own, medicine. Giving them a taste of their, repaying them back for what they did to him, in a way, because, and really it's not as bad either, because they honestly sold him to, I think it was the Arabs, and the Arabs sold him to Egypt. So in actuality, he could be repaying them back even more than that, than just holding Benjamin back. I mean, that he's actually he could be really repaying them, but he's not going to repay evil for evil. But at the same time, I could see your point that he's giving them a dose of their own medicine. And so it's pretty interesting. Again, there's a famine in the land. To give context for those that did not watch our Genesis studies all the way back from Genesis 41, there's a famine in Canaan. This is why they're going to Egypt. They're trying to buy grain. So just keep that as the context of the narrative of this story. That's what's going on here. They're trying to get grain from Yosef in Egypt. So, all right, so now we're going to go to chapter 45. We're going to be reading on here. I'm going to see if we can at least get 45, possibly also 46 done today. Let's see here. So Genesis 45, and Yosef was not able to sustain all that was being upon him. And he cried, let every man go out from me. And no man stood with him. And Yosef made himself known to his brothers. See, this is what makes me think that we talked about this in our group last time when we started doing these Genesis readings last week. I really think it was a miraculous type of thing where they couldn't recognize Yosef, where Yahuwah possibly could have been blinding them, because now all of a sudden Yosef's about to make himself known. So they didn't know it was Yosef the whole time, but now Yosef's going to make himself known to his brothers. Now, it's very possible he could be taking his Egyptian garments off. We don't know. We're not there. But all I'm saying is, in the New Testament, there's a concept of Yahuwah making Yahusha's appearance different, that his apostles would not even recognize him, and it had nothing to do with clothing. So I'm just saying there's a possibility. All I'm trying to say is there's a possibility that Yahuwah was just blinding their eyes, for a time, and they did not notice they were talking to Yosef the whole time. It says here, while Yosef made himself known to his brothers, and he gave forth his voice with weeping, and the Mitzrites heard, and a man of Pharaoh's house heard. And Yosef said to his brothers, I am Yosef. Is my father yet living? And his brothers were not able to answer him a word, and they were confounded before him. And Yosef said to his brothers, come near now to me. And they came near, and he said, I am Yosef, your brother, whom you sold into Mitzrayim. And now do not be troubled, and let it not be effective in your eyes that you sold me here. For to sustain life did Yahuwah send me before you. For these 2 years has famine been in the land, and there are yet 5 years in which there will be neither seed nor harvest. And Yahuwah sent me before you to set a remnant in the earth. Now that's interesting. And to keep you alive by a great salvation. See, there's so many parallels between Yosef and Yahusha. It's crazy. So, to keep you alive by a great salvation. I love that one in verse 7. And now it was not you who sent me here, but it was from before Yahuwah, who has set me to be a father unto Pharaoh. Now that's interesting. That's pretty interesting. And to rule all the men of his house, holding power over all the land of Mitzrayim. Wow. Hasten then and go up to my father and say to him, thus says your son Joseph, Yahuwah has set me ruler over the Mitzrites. Come down to me and your sons, children, and your sheep, and your oxen, and all that you have, and I will nourish you there. For there are yet 5 years of famine, lest thou and the men of your house and all that you have be wasted away. And behold, your eyes see in the eyes of your brother Benjamin, that in your language I speak with you. What would that be? Paleo-Hebrew, okay? In your language, okay? Remember, this is after the Tower of Babel. So Joseph, to be ruler in Egypt, and I just want to make it clear, I'm not saying Jasher is inspired, but I'm just saying, if you look at extra biblical books, historically speaking, Joseph had to know all the languages. He actually had to know all 70 languages of the 70 countries that split off from the Tower of Babel, if that makes any sense. So he had to, he would have to know Egyptian and Hebrew. So that's why he says that in your language I speak with you, meaning the Paleo-Hebrew. And you will show my father all my esteem in Mitzrayim and all that you see, and make haste and bring down my father there. And he fell upon the neck of Benjamin his brother and wept. And Benjamin wept upon his neck, and he kissed all his brothers and wept over him. Afterward his brothers discoursed with him. And a voice was heard in the house of Pharaoh, saying, the brothers of Joseph are come. And it was pleasing in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of his servants. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, tell my brothers, do this, lade your beasts and go, carry into the land of Canaan, and take your father and the men of your house, come to me. I will give you the tube of the land of Mitzrayim, and you shall eat the tube of the land. And now you are commanded this do. Take to you out of the land of Egypt wagons for your children and your wives, and bring your father and come, and let not your eye look wistfully upon your furniture, for the tube of all the land of Mitzrayim is your own. Wow. Yeah, this Pharaoh is a lot different. I'm telling you right now, this Pharaoh, man, if only we were to have a king ruling over us like this Pharaoh. And the sons of Yasharal did so, and Joseph gave them wagons, according to the word of Pharaoh, and gave them provisions for the way. And he gave to every one of them vestments for wearing. And to Benjamin he gave 300 shekels of silver, and 5 vestments for wearing. And to his father he sent 10 donkeys, laden with the 2 things of the Mitzrites, or the Mitzrayims, and 10 she-donkeys laden with corn or grain and bread and provisions for the way. And he dismissed his brothers, and they went, and he said to them, do not contend by the way. And they went up from Mitzrayim and came into the land of Canaan unto Jacob their father, and they showed him, saying, Joseph is yet alive, and he rules over all the land of Mitzrayim. These words were uncertain upon his heart, because he did not believe them. And they told him all the words of Joseph, which he had spoken with him. And he saw the wagons that Joseph had sent to fetch him. And the set-apart spirit rested on Jacob their father. Now notice, I know we might have some Christian viewers and listeners. Notice, set-apart spirit's not a new thing, all right? The spirit of Yahuwah rests upon people before the day of Pentecost. I want to make that clear. That the day of Pentecost was not the first time Yahuwah's spirit rested on a man. So I just wanted to show that. Okay. So we're at the end of Genesis 45, verse 27 here. So the set-apart spirit rested upon Jacob their father. And Yasharal said, great to me is the joy. Joseph, my son, is yet alive. I will go and behold him before I die. So Sister Josie just joined us, so we just read Genesis 45 here. And so as you can see here, this Pharaoh was a lot different from the Pharaoh of Egypt. He actually cared about Yosef. He considered Yosef and his family like almost like his own kindred. So, if only we had, us being in Babylon right now, we're in a type of Babylon. If only we had a king like this Pharaoh, So it's very, very interesting. And you can see their father's spirit is, revived. He's not depressed. He's not downcast. He realizes Yosef, his son, is alive. So a lot more positive right now. So you can see Pharaoh is going to give them the best of the own land in Egypt. He wanted all of them to move there. So very cool. Very righteous. So, this kind of reminds me of the Levites, which have no possession, with the Israelites, and they they're to live with their brothers type of thing. So very interesting. So I don't know if anything else we can take out of this chapter before we move on, but I found it very cool. And Yosef really is not holding a grudge, I noticed. He's saying, this was from Yahuwah for this to happen, for you to sell me into slavery. This was for Yahuwah made it so that I would be over Pharaoh. And he even says I would be a father to Pharaoh in the Targum here. So that's kind of interesting. So very interesting. Yeah. So unless we can pick anything out that's pretty important from this chapter, I think we can move on to chapter 46. Trying to see if there's anything that was hugely important. Obviously, you could understand their father not believing them at first that Yosef was alive because, his sons are not exactly the most trustworthy, at that point in time. So I could understand that. See here. I think that's about it. We already know about the famine. We've been knowing about the famine since chapter 41. So, and he actually reminds them, he's like, there's 5 years left of the famine. So now we know that since he had that dream that Yahuwah interpreted for Yosef, for the cupbearer and the other guy, I think it was the chef of Pharaoh back then. So they've already been 2 years into this famine of the 7 years of famine. So they still got 5 years left. So that's another important thing to take away. All right. So I think we're gonna continue on to chapter 46. I think we pretty much expounded as much as we can on chapter 45. All right. So 46 says, and Yasher journeyed in all that he had and came to Beersheba. And he offered sacrifices to the Elohim of his father Isaac. And this is important to point out. Pre-Levitical priesthood, pre-law of Moses, they could actually, pretty much offer sacrifices, wherever they were. And as long as Yahuwah approved of it, they could offer sacrifices to him. But again, this is, mind you, this is pre-law of Moses. This is way before Exodus 20. So just keep that in mind. So anyway, just wanted to make a note of the differences and the different covenants in scripture, and possibly in this original Noah covenant that he made, that there was a lot of different nuances to Yahuwah's law before Mount Sinai, like this, for example. So just something to take away there in verse 1. And Yahuwah spake to Yasher in a vision of the night and said, Yaakov, Yaakov. And he said, behold, I am. Yeah, what does Yahusha say in John chapter 8? Before Abraham was... Oh, no, my bad. Hold on. Yahuwah spake to Yasher in a vision of the night and said, Yaakov, Yaakov. Oh, and he said, behold, I am here. Okay, so, all right, never mind, scratch that. And he said, I am Elohim, the Elohim of your father. Fear not, go down into Mitzrayim, for a great people will I make you there. I will go down with you into Mitzrayim. I will surely bring you up. But Yosef shall lay his head upon your eyes. So Yahuwah is prophesying about Yosef's death. You know. So he's going to be with Yasharal when they go down to Egypt. So he says, I will make a great people. I will make you there, which is true. They became very, very numerous after they went down into Egypt. For the time they were in Egypt until the time of the Exodus, they became very numerous, very great. Okay, so verse 5, and it says, and Yaakov arose from Beersheba, and the sons of Yasharal carried Yaakov their father and their children and their wives in the wagons which Pharaoh had sent to fetch them. And they took their flocks, their substance, which they had gotten in the land of Canaan, and came to Mitzrayim. Yaakov and all his sons with him, his sons and his sons' sons with him, his daughters and the daughters of his sons, and all his seed he brought with him into Mitzrayim. And these are the names of the sons of Yasharal, which came into Mitzrayim: Yaakov and his sons. The firstborn of Yaakov, Reuben, and the sons of Reuben, Hanuk. Sounds like Enoch there. And Phalu, Hezron, and Carmi, and the sons of Sheeman, Yemuel, Yanin, Ahad, Yakin, Zokar, and Shaul. Interesting. The son of Cananita, and the sons of Levi. So this is where we get the Levites right here, Levi. Gershon, Kehath, and Merari, and the sons of Yahuda, and Onan, and Shelah, and Pharetz, and Zarach. But and Onan had died in the land of Canaan. And the sons of Pharetz, Heshron, and Kamul. And the sons of Issachar, Tola, and Pheuah, and Yob, and Semaran. And the sons of Zabulon, Sered, and Elon, and Yalil. These are the sons of Leah, which she bare to Yaakov in Padan Aram, and Dinah, his daughter, all the beings, his sons and his daughters, 33. And the children of Gad, Sephian, Haggai, Shuni, Ezban, Eri, Arodai, Areli, and the sons of Asher, Yemna, Yesva, Yesvi, Beriah, and Sarah, their sister, and his daughter. And she bare these unto Jacob, Yaakov, 16 beings. So now let's add this up so far. So we got 33, 16. So I'm just going to keep a tally of this stuff because it's important to know how many go into Egypt once we get to the end of this chapter. The sons of Rachel, the wife of Yaakov, Yosef and Benjamin. And to Yosef were born in the land of Mitzrayim, Manasseh and Ephraim. Yep. So the fullness of the nations actually comes from Yosef's line. Many ethnos would come from Yosef's line, many ethnicities. Whom Asenath, daughter of Potiphera, prince of On, bare unto him. Now this is interesting. Oh, what do you know? Non-Israelite. Interesting. So you have a mix of Israelite and Gentile bringing in Manasseh and Ephraim. Now that's definitely poetic prophecy right there. And the sons of Benjamin, Bela and Bekor and Asbel and Gerah and Naaman, Aki and Ros, Mupim and Hufim and Ared. These are the sons of Rachel, which were born to Yaakov, all the beings 14. All right. And the sons of Dan, Hushim, and the sons of Naphtali, Yaziel and Guni and Yezer and Shilem. These are the children of Bilhah, whom Laban gave to Rachel, his daughter, and she bare them to Jacob all the beings 7. Okay. All the beings which went with Jacob into Mitzrayim, which came forth from his loins, besides which besides watch Jacob, all the beings 60 and 6, and the sons of Joseph, which were born to him in Mitzrayim, 2 beings, all the beings of the house of Jacob, which went into Mitzrayim, were 70. Okay, so, and we're going to check that a little bit. After this chapter, I got a cross-reference from Exodus chapter 12, verse 43, and we're going to look at the Septuagint, Masoretic text, and the Samaritan Pentateuch, and how that links up, and it shows a second witness to verse 26 here, or actually verse 27, the sons of Joseph, which were born to him in Mitzrayim, 2 beings, all the beings of the house of Jacob, which went into Egypt, were 70. Okay. So, and he sent Yahudah before him to Joseph to make way clear before him at Goshen. And he came to the land of Goshen, and Joseph arrayed his chariot and went up to meet Jacob his father in Goshen. And he saw him and fell upon his neck and wept. And he wept still upon his neck. And Yasharal said to Joseph, I could die at this time. I have consolation now that I have seen your face, for you are yet alive. And Joseph said to his brothers and to the house of his father, I will go up and show Pharaoh, and will tell him, my brothers in the house of my father who were in the land of Canaan have come to me, but the men are shepherds of sheep, for the men are masters of flocks, and their sheep and oxen, all that they have brought. Okay, so, and it shall be when Pharaoh calls you and shall ask you, what is your employment? You will say, your servants have been men, the masters of flocks, from your youth until now, but both we and our fathers, that you may dwell in the land of Goshen, because the Mitzrites keep at a distance all shepherds of flocks. That's a nice way to put it. According to the laws of Egypt, they consider shepherds an abomination, so they will not eat near them. They'll keep a distance from them, so to speak. So, and that's earlier on in Genesis. You can find that. I think it might have been chapter 42, 43. Later on, you'll see in the book of Exodus where the Egyptian Pharaoh of that time says, sacrifice to Yahuwah here in Egypt. And then Moses says to them, why would we do that? Wouldn't we get stoned by you guys? Because it's an abomination, to make a slaughtering, to slaughter in front of the Egyptians. So the Egyptians held certain animals sacred and all that. And possibly they might have been against eating animals. I'm not too sure about that. I would have to check history, but Moses does make a notion in the book of Exodus that it would be abomination for us to slaughter to Yahuwah in front of the Mitzrites. So that I just want to make a note of. So this chapter is pretty much the end of them being in the land of Canaan. That's what I got from this chapter. This is the end of that. They're carrying their father, Jacob, up into Egypt. A very awesome type of covenant Yahuwah makes with Jacob here. And so you have basically foreshadowing what's going to happen to them in Egypt, how they're going to become super numerous, and all of that. And so anyway, I think we're going to end today's study with that. But as you can see here, we're getting a decent picture of what's going to happen, how this is going to transition into the Exodus time period. So anyway, I'm going to leave time for my sister Josie and sister Marissa if they want to share anything or any comments or anything before we end today's study. So you guys have anything you want to add? Just feel free to unmute yourselves. Okay. Alrighty then. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today, Brother Doug. And thank you for tuning into our study today. So we'll be picking up tomorrow. We'll be doing Genesis chapter 47. And so as you can see here, there's huge differences between these two pharaohs. That's another thing I want the viewers and listeners to see. This pharaoh, this time period, he loved Joseph. He actually cared for his father, his brothers, enough to even tell them to move into their land. So, huge difference from the pharaoh that's going to come around the time of the Exodus. And so just keep that in mind too. You got two different dynasties of Egypt, and from what I've researched and looked into, certain dynasties were monotheistic in Egypt, certain dynasties were polytheistic, meaning certain dynasties possibly served Yahuwah without knowing his name, possibly, serving the creator of the universe, and then serving the creator of heaven and earth. And then other dynasties that were under, like the pharaoh of the Exodus, actually were polytheistic, served many pagan false gods. So that's something to keep in mind too, and you can research for yourself. You can see there's different dynasties in Egypt had monotheism versus polytheism. So thank you for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Shalom.